Hello everyone, welcome to another Bitcoin related tutorial. Today's video is a follow-up to my last video where I talked about deploying Garbageman nodes at scale to help rate limit spam on the Libra relay network. And I introduced a tool that I built to assist with that. The main feedback I got from that video is that the tool needs to be further simplified. The text-based user interfaces is still a little clunky. All the extra settings that needed to be added to VirtualBox to make it run was a little too complicated. So it needed to be simplified quite a bit more. Folks also asked for a Start9 wrapper and an Umbral wrapper so that they can run it on the systems that they already use for Bitcoin. And also had some enhancements that I wanted to make myself, such as adding support for running Bitcoin knots, not just running Garbageman. So I made a number of those enhancements, and this video I'm going to show you, what's changed and how to use it. So let's dive right in. Okay, so first we're gonna go to my GitHub page. So we're gonna search for Paul's code, GitHub. This is the link here, github.com, Paul's code, Paul Lamb. So we're gonna click on that one. Now take note of the URL, it's github.com/Paul's code. And we're gonna go to the repositories. Now the first thing you'll notice is that the repository name has changed. It is now called Garbageman NM. It used to be VMM. And the reason is that it was originally called the Virtual Machine Manager, but in order to make it compatible with Start9 and Umbral, it had to be made container-based. I still have the legacy mode with Virtual Machine-based for those who want to use the legacy tool. And I've also added container support in the legacy tool as well. But the new tool is really all container-based, and the tool has really become a node manager, not so much a virtual machine manager. And so that's what the NM stands for. It stands for Nodes Manager. All right, so the basic process works the same. I won't go into that. The idea is you have you still have the manager, you still have the lots of nodes that he's managing, etc. Right. So this image is still a good way to visualize how the system works in a non-technical way. Okay. But the other repository that you want to pull up is Garbageman Nodes Manager StartOS. I'm still in the process of making the Umbral one, so I will have that out shortly. If you want to see that first when it comes out, I'll probably include it in a future video, but if you want to know about it right away, just make an account on my forum. I'll post about it on the forum whenever it comes out. But right now I've got the Start9 operating system wrapper project, and this is the one where you'll get the service if you want to add it to your Start9 server. I'm working on getting it on the community registry, in which case you'll just go the normal way, but for now it has to be sideloaded. So the way you can get to it in the Garbageman Nodes Manager StartOS wrapper project is you click on Releases, and then you want to go to the latest release. So this is the latest release here. At the time of this video, 0101. Okay. And what you'll do is you'll go down to the assets. You want to download the first three assets. You want the Garbageman Nodes Manager. You want the checksums. And you want the signed checksums. Those three files that you're going to get. Okay. All right, so those will appear in my downloads here. The other thing that you need to get is my GPG public key. So you can find that on my website at paulscode.com. So this topic here should be pinned. Don't trust, verify. My official GPG key is here. So we'll click on that. In the first post here, it says I published my GPG public key. You can download here. So we'll click on that to download the public key. Okay. So let's take a look at our downloads here. We've got the Paul's code public key that we download from our website. We've got the S9PK, that's the Garbageman Nodes Manager service. We've got the checksums, and we got the signed checksums. Okay, so we can verify this in Sparrow. I'm going to use Sparrow because it has a very convenient tool to do this. And I imagine most of you are running Sparrow since you're all Bitcoiners. So we'll go to Tools, and we're going to click on Verify Download. Okay, for signature, we're going to pull up the signed checksum. So it's the SHA-256sums.text.asc. That'll bring in the checksums text and the S9PK actual service. So basically just putting that first file in there, it pulls in the other two, but it's missing the public key. So you still got to pull that one in. So you're going to click Browse, and you're going to select the pulsecode.asc public key. And now all three check marks should be green. Okay, so if anything's not green here, then that means that particular build is not verified. Stop by the forum, report it to me, and we can go from there. But this should check out. If you get my public key from my website and you download those three files from GitHub, put them into Sparrow here, you should get all three verified. Okay, so that shows this is a genuine service from me, and it's not something that some middleman managed to get on your computer. Okay, so now that you've verified the service, you can now safely load it onto your Start9 server. Okay, so I've got my Start9 server up. One thing I should note is if you don't have a Start9 server, you can actually install Start9 in VirtualBox. And you may already have VirtualBox. If you were following in my last video, you may already have VirtualBox installed. And it doesn't need all the fancy settings changes that we made last time. It's a lot simpler. So if you want to go that route, check out my video. It's called running the Start9 operating system virtually on your computer for free. Okay, and it goes into how to install VirtualBox on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and then how to install the Start9 operating system into VirtualBox. All right, so it's similar to what we did in the last video, but instead of putting Linux Mint on the virtual machine, you're going to be putting Start9. Okay, and Start9 is a lot easier to deal with for running services than Linux Mint is. It's specifically designed for what we're going to be using it for. All right, so if you don't have a Start9 server, go back and watch that video, set up VirtualBox, and create your Start9 server in a virtual machine. And then you can come back to this video and pick up where we are here. Now, the Garbageman Nodes Manager does not have any prerequisites, so you don't have to install Bitcoin Knots or any of these other services on there to run it. And it's designed where it's not going to conflict with these other services. So whether you have other services on your server or not, it should not impact your ability to run the Garbageman Nodes Manager. Right now, like I said, it's not in the marketplace, but I'm going to try and get it there. What you could do if you're watching this in the future, it may already be there. So what you want to do is go to the marketplace and check before you sideload it. You'll go to the community registry, which is you click on marketplace, you click on change, you click on community registry, and you click on connect. Okay, here you could search for Garbageman, and it's not there. So there's no results now. But once it's on the community registry, you'll just search for Garbageman Nodes Manager, and it'll appear down in the community registry. But since it's not on the community registry yet, I'm going to go ahead and sideload it from the download that I pulled off of GitHub, like I showed earlier, which you can do as well. Just make sure you verify its authenticity, like I showed a little bit ago, using Sparrow, to make sure you have the actual genuine service. All right, so to sideload a service in Start9, you go to System, and then you click on, under Manage, we've got this option, Sideload a Service. We'll click on that. And now we need to browse for an S9PK package file. This is one of the files that we downloaded off of GitHub a little bit ago. So we're going to browse. We'll go to the Downloads folder, and there it is, Garbageman NM S9PK. Select that. And now you should see a message that says a valid package file has been detected with a green check mark. And it should be called the Garbageman Nodes Manager with whatever the latest version is. So we're going to click on Upload and Install. And now we'll just wait for it to install here. And just like with any other Start9 service, it needs to be configured before running. So we're going to click on Garbageman Nodes Manager and click on Configure. The main thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to copy the admin password so that I can log in. I added this without realizing that it would interfere with the Vault Warden plugin, which I know a lot of you are using Vault Warden. I had some information about changing the admin password that I wanted to show, but I didn't realize the Vault Warden plugin was going to pop right over that. And a lot of times you can hardly get to the OK button. So the next version, when I release it, it won't have this. But for now, you kind of have to just try to get to that OK button. You can click somewhere else on the page to close it, go back over there, and now you can usually grab it. So we're going to copy that value into the clipboard, and then we're going to click on Save. Okay, so now we have the password for the user interface in the clipboard. So we're ready to paste it once the UI has been launched. But before we launch the UI, we have to start the service. So we'll click on Start. Now we'll just wait for the health checks to complete. Okay, it says it started. Now we'll click on Launch UI, and it will ask to enter the password. You can use Vault Warden for this as well, or you can paste it from the clipboard. And then we'll click on Unlock. Okay, and you can see that now we have a nice dashboard type of view for managing the Garbageman nodes. Okay, now before we can do anything, we need to actually create a new node, which we're not going to be able to do because we do not have what's called an artifact yet. So I'll show you what this interface looks like before you've imported any artifacts. It says you want to create a new instance. There's no artifacts imported. You need to import the Bitcoin daemon binary to get started. So artifacts include the Bitcoin daemon itself. So that's like Bitcoin D, Bitcoin CLI, it's the command line tool to connect to Bitcoin D. They also can include snapshots of the blockchain, and they include container image information. All right. So before you can create an instance, you've got to have those artifacts to be able to create a node. Okay. So you can, if you've not imported any artifacts yet, when you click on New Instance, you can click on this button to import an artifact, or there's a button up here to import an artifact. You can import as many artifacts as you want. Right now, I've only got one, so I'm going to import that one. Now, there's two ways to import artifacts. You can import them from GitHub releases. Like I said, there's only one GitHub release so far, so this is the one we're going to import. We also have the ability to upload a file. Now, those of you who are a little more technically savvy, you can use the old text-based interface that I showed in the last video to build artifacts. So when you click on export, the file that's get created, that can be imported as an artifact here in the web-based interface. So that's what that one's nice for. If you're a little more technically savvy, you might have a particular version of a particular node that you want to import into the Nodes Manager. You can build that in the text-based interface, export it, and then upload it into the Nodes Manager here. But for most people, you're going to be using the GitHub release option because that's the simplest. So you'll select whichever GitHub release. You should always pick the latest, in my opinion. That's going to have the latest version and a more recent snapshot of the blockchain in it. So you'll click on the GitHub release that you want to import into the Nodes Manager. And now you have the option to include the blockchain data or not. This is similar to what I talked about in my last video. Whether you trust me or not, if you pull this in, it's going to go way faster because the blockchain data will already be synced up to the point in time when I created that release. So you'll basically skip through most of the IBD. You'll just have a few blocks to catch up, and then it'll be done. And that'll take probably 10 to 30 minutes max. Whereas if you're doing the IBD, if you don't check this checkbox, it's going to take a day or two on most computers, potentially longer depending on your system resources. So for this video, I'm going to go ahead and check that because it's going to go a lot faster if I have that checked. It'll download the entire blockchain data, which will take a while, but that's much faster than verifying and doing the IBD. So we're going to have that checked. So just to summarize, we've selected GitHub release, we've selected the release version that we want to import, and we've checked the include blockchain data. And now I'm going to click on import artifact. And now we'll just wait for the Garbageman Nodes Manager to finish downloading all the parts and getting them ready so we can use them to create our first instance. One thing I forgot to mention is that this blockchain data is from a pruned node. So you cannot use this to bootstrap a full node that's fully synced. That would be way too huge of a download. So this is a pruned node. In the future, I do want to add the ability to launch a full node, and I'll show you where I'll be putting that in the interface. That's not currently supported. Right now, it only runs pruned nodes, just like in my last video, where we run lots of pruned nodes. The idea is to create lots of nodes that are lightweight as opposed to one big node that is heavyweight. But I do want to support full nodes. Potentially, you could use Garbageman Nodes Manager as your service for running your main node plus a bunch of clones. And then you could hook up your spare wallet, for example, up to your nodes in the Garbageman Nodes Manager. So that's kind of where this is probably going to go in the future. But for now, it's focused on creating lots of pruned nodes. This progress meter up at the top kind of tells you what it's doing. After it downloads all the parts, it has to reassemble them so that it can use them to create nodes. So that last step takes a little while. It has to reassemble all the parts that it downloaded. Okay, and so the import is complete. Now we can begin creating instances. Now, I've changed the concept a little bit from my last video. If you recall, the idea was you created what was called the base VM, and then you cloned that. I've changed that a little bit. The strategy is now that you have the artifacts, which are not actually in a node, but they are all the information you need to create the node, and then you create the nodes from the artifact. So it's similar, but not quite the same. With the base VM idea, you had to actually have a base VM running before you could create clones. In this new setup now, we have the artifacts, which are not a node that's running. It's just the data needed to create the clones. So that's basically the idea here. So that's how artifacts and instances are related. And the benefit of that is now we can have many different artifacts and create nodes from those artifacts in different ways, as opposed to having one base VM that's configured only one way and you can clone it. So that allows us, for example, to run, say I want to run 4 nodes. I want 2 of them to be Garbageman. I want 2 of them to be Bitcoin Knots. I can do that now that I've abstracted the concept of a base VM away and instead using artifacts. So let me show how to actually create an instance now that we've got our first artifact. I'm going to click on Create First Instance, or we can click on the button up here called New Instance. Those will both bring you to the same place. All right, so we click on that, and it'll bring up this interface here. So first of all, we have to select the artifact that we want to create an instance from. We've only got the one right now. An artifact can contain multiple instances with multiple implementations, which this one does. So this particular artifact has the binaries for both Garbageman and Bitcoin Knots, so I can select which of the 2 I want to run. Then we can select which net we want to operate on. It has mainnet selected by default. That's what you want if you want to be in production. If you're just playing around, you can use these other nets. But we're going to use mainnet, and the blockchain data that's on this artifact, it's mainnet blockchain, so it would not work on these others. You'd have to do the IBD if you used any other network. Then we have the option to use Tor only, or we can click on the toggle and have ClearNet plus Tor. All right, so by default it has Tor only. You can click it and you can get ClearNet plus Tor. And like I mentioned in my last video, it's a good idea to have some Garbageman nodes on the network using ClearNet so we don't open up an obvious workaround for Libre Relay where they just ignore Tor nodes. All right, then we have the ability to use the snapshot and that's on by default. If we use the snapshot, you'll be synced up to the blockchain as of the time of the release. And so the sync's going to go way faster if you have this option enabled, which it is by default. But if you don't want to do that, you want to do the IBD yourself and verify yourself, then you just click on that option to toggle it to resync from scratch. I'm going to, for this video, use the snapshot, so I'll leave it the way it was. All right, so you just look over everything, make sure you have the right artifact, and make sure you have the right implementation. You're on the right network. You decide whether you're going to do Tor only or ClearNet plus Tor, and whether or not you're going to use the snapshot or resync the blockchain from the beginning. Once everything is selected, we're going to click on Create Instance. Okay, so this takes a while. It has to extract the data in order to create the clone, and that'll take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes to complete. So we'll let that work, and we'll come back in a bit. Okay, our node has been created. Then we'll just go ahead and start it. Now once Bitcoin D comes up, it'll tell us what block we're on. We should be almost completely synced since we pulled from the snapshot on this one. Okay, and you can see it's got a few blocks to catch up on, but it's pretty close to being synced here. And it's calculating the percentage at left at less than 0.01%. Okay, so that's how you spin up one that's already almost completely synced. Let me show you how it looks whenever we'll do a Bitcoin Knots node this time. We'll leave it on Tor only, and this time I'm going to tell it to resync from scratch. If I create this instance, you can see it gets created immediately. That's because it didn't have to import the blockchain information. But if I start this one now, it's going to have to sync from the very start. I'll do one more Bitcoin Knots, and this time I'll leave it Tor only, and I'll use the snapshot. Okay, and we'll let that one come up. I want to have a few nodes running on here just so I can show you some of the charts that I've created, so we'll let this one load. Okay, that one's created. Let's go ahead and start that one up as well. And we'll give it a second for Bitcoin D to come up so we can have our numbers reported. All right, so I want to talk about some of the details that I'm showing on these cards for each node. At the top, it says which type of node it is. This is a Garbageman node. This is a Knots node. This one's a Knots node. It says what network you're on. We're all on mainnet on these three. Tells you how many peers you're connected to for this particular node and what type they are. And I have that categorized by Libra Relay or Garbageman. You can't tell them apart. They look the same. So any numbers that show up here that look like Libra Relay nodes will be tagged in this bucket here. Then we have Knots, so any version of Bitcoin Knots. Then we have Old Core, that's any version of Bitcoin Core prior to version 30. And then we have Core version 30 plus, that's Bitcoin Core version 30 or any later version. And then we have other, so that'd be any other node implementation that didn't fall into one of the earlier categories. We've got the progress, we got the block headers and the number of blocks. This sort of tells you how synced you are on the chain, how long you've been up, the amount of disk space that you're using for this particular node, and then it's got IP addresses. If this part here, this will be reported by, so when you connect to a peer, it'll discover if you have ClearNet enabled, it'll discover your IP. Once that's discovered, it'll show down here. Right now, I don't have any, so there may be bugs in the code too. I need to look into this a little bit. I'm mainly concerned with Tor initially. So it shows you your Tor address. So this is what you could use if you wanted to look up your node on bitnodes.io, for example. You could use this address. Same kind of deal with this one. This one just Knots, but it has the same breakdown. So each of these is an entire Bitcoin node. Now these are prune nodes, so you can run multiples of them. I do want to add a feature in the future where you can spin up full nodes if you want, if you have enough space. And the benefit of that might be, you could use Garbageman Nodes Manager as your main node. You can Sparrow up to it, etc., and have a bunch of other nodes on there. You can sort of be your one-stop shop for managing Bitcoin nodes. That's sort of where I could see this going in the future. Some other things, we got breakdowns of the instances up here at the top. And to be clear, the word instance in this case just means an instance of a node. So whenever I say instances or when I say nodes, I'm talking about the same thing. So we've got 2 out of our 3 nodes active. Out of all of our nodes together, we've got 20 peers connected. This is the amount of storage space all the nodes together are using. So this is useful if you're wanting to track how much usage you are and not create too many nodes. And then it shows a breakdown of the nodes that are running. Are they running on Tor only, or are they running on Tor plus ClearNet? So we've got 2 nodes running. One of them is Tor only and one of them is Tor plus ClearNet. So that's sort of what these cards here. The status feed on the side, this shows the different events that have been happening. So when I imported the artifact, when I created the instance, started the instance, etc. So this is just all the events that have been happening, a history of them. Then we've got this dashboard tab. In the dashboard tab, it shows the sync process by instance. So the more nodes you have, the more complex this graph will get. But the idea is you want this to eventually be completely filled up with this blue color. That would be all your nodes fully synced. You can see in this case, I've got 2 nodes that are fully synced, and I've got 1 node that is not synced to the blockchain. I created it as a fresh node, and I haven't started yet, so it's still at 0%. Then we have peer type distribution over on this chart here. This tells you sort of the breakdown of all the peers that your nodes are connected to, what types of nodes they are. So we've got pre-version 30 Bitcoin cores at 62% of our peers. Knots, we got 19% of our peers. Core version 30 or higher, we've got 10% of our peers, and then some other instance is 10%. We're not currently connected to any Libra Relay nodes, or that would show up here as well. It shows breakdown of each instance or what's building up that chart. You can see this table down here shows that. Then we've got artifacts management. So as you import artifacts, they'll show up in this table. And if you ever wanted to delete them, you could delete them from this table. One last thing on here, I think I've shown everything so far. One last piece that I've not shown yet is peer discovery. So this is actually I would say a pre-alpha of a tool I'm working on. I'm going to call Cohort. The idea is this actively goes out on the network. So what it's showing here, these are not peers that your nodes are connected to. These are peers that this process has gone out and crawled. It behaves like a spider, goes out and crawls the known peers that it knows about, use those as seeds, and then collects gossip, and then connects to those and so on. It builds up this view of the network. So what I want this tool to be initially is just a view of the network, sort of the kind of thing that bitnodes.io does, for example. Right now it's very limited because it's loading everything in the UI, so I have to put caps on seeds checked to 50, which means that limits all the other tabs. So I need to get that fixed where I can do infinite scrolling and actually collect large numbers. And then this chart will become more useful at that point. But you can sort of get a feel for what it's going to look like in the future. We got a breakdown of the liveness of the peers that we know about. Have we connected to them recently on ClearNet, or have we connected to them on Tor? I don't have any Tor ones yet. Or are they inactive? ClearNet ones we know about, but they're not up, and then Tor peers that we know about, but they're not up. This one gives a breakdown of the node types, and the node types are similar to what we saw in the cards earlier. It's going to break down Libra Relay nodes. Looks like we know about 4 of them. And again, those could be Libra Relay or Garbageman. You can't tell them apart, so I just call it LR/GM. But we know there's 4 of them that we've discovered. We've discovered 9 Bitcoin Knots nodes, 39 pre-version 30 Bitcoin Core, and then 6 version 30 or greater Bitcoin Core. like I said, this is highly limited the numbers right now because of that issue they got to deal with on the seats checked. But the idea that this eventually what I'm going to be using is for this to inject peers into the nodes that are running. So this will provide a very quick way to connect to whatever types of nodes you want to connect to. I'm kind of calling it cohort because the idea is you could use this to spin up a bunch of Bitcoin knots nodes that preferentially peer with Bitcoin Core version 30. And that would give you more impact on the network. One other thing I noticed, you may remember in my last video, all of the peers I was connecting to were coming up as Libra Relay. I actually misinterpreted that. I thought that meant that the Garbageman and Libra Relay, the preferential peering was very effective and aggressive. Actually, what happened though on that is I did the math wrong and I was looking at the wrong bit. So those weren't actually Libra Relay or Garbageman nodes that it was connecting to. And you can actually see it when you spin up. You don't actually connect to any Libra Relay nodes for a very long time. This seems to sort of be a very passive peer, preferentially peering going on here, which means it behaves like a normal node for a long time as it sort of collects gossip. But my guess is once it's this is guess. I've not dug into the logic just because I misinterpreted the logic before, so I need to go back and understand it. But my guess is once it actually starts connecting to the Libra Relay nodes, it holds onto those and prefers them, but doesn't do anything aggressive to go out and find them. Another possibility is, so that could be one possibility. That's one hypothesis. My other hypothesis of why it's not connecting to a lot of Libra Relay peers is perhaps the Garbageman side of the cat and mouse with Libra Relay is actually losing at the moment. So it's possible that Libra Relay has found a way to figure out that a node is not Libra Relay and that it's Garbageman and that it's blacklisting us. That would also explain the low numbers. So this is sort of a live cat and mouse game between these two implementations. So this is something that you would also potentially expect as well. So that actually is what gave me the motivation to start building Cohort. What I want is not a passive peer preferential peering. I want something that's going to go out and discover what's on the network and actively try to connect to the things that I want it to connect to in a much more aggressive way. Sort of what I thought Libra Relay and Garbageman were doing before in my last video. That's what I'm going to build this tool to do. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be a tool that's coming out. And this is where you're going to see it. I'm going to initially build it into the Garbageman Nodes Manager. And it'll be sort of a bolt-on for the nodes. It'll sort of connect to their RPC and sort of drive which peers they're connecting to. Okay, so that's all the updates I have on the Garbageman Nodes Manager. Like I mentioned, I've only got the Start9 wrapper working at the moment, but I'll soon have the Umbral one as well. If you want to see that as soon as it comes out, just create an account on my forum at paulscode.com. That's where I'll announce it first. I will also probably have one more follow-up video once I have the Umbral wrapper working, and probably after I make a few advancements on the Cohort project as well. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next video.